All right. Are we going? Let's see here. Audio and video. Thank you, Lenina. Excellent. Claire Burr, beautiful. Welcome, everybody, to Paleontologizing. I'm glad you're here today. Happy Sunday. If it is Sunday, whether you're watching live right now, hello chat, or whether you're watching later on in the VOD or on YouTube, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to beautiful, very hot and dry eastern Utah. We are digging up some dinosaurs here today, and I'm pleased to be able to bring you along for the ride. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and this is my channel here on Twitch. As a dinosaur paleontologist, I work on dinosaurs. I study dinosaurs, I publish on them in the scientific literature, and I talk about dinosaurs usually 5 days a week when I'm back home in my office in the San Francisco Bay Area. We go over new scientific publications, we talk about the history of life on Earth, interview other paleontologists, do art and illustrations and 3D modeling and printing and all kinds of stuff like that. But again, it's summertime, like I always say when I'm out here in the field. And in summer, do field work. Summertime is a time to go out and collect fossils, collect data, you know, kind of give us the raw material to do our work as paleontologists. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I've chilly 99 degrees I see, says Hakabas. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Good stuff. Be down in Green River next Saturday. Oh, very cool, Turtle Mama. You definitely go to the John Wesley Powell Museum there in Green River. That's quite the place. See some mosasaur skeletons and stuff. Anyway, yeah, I'm out here in eastern Utah near the town of Moab with the Utah Geological Survey. We're working this quarry here in the background. I'll be taking you down there in a couple minutes. But we're digging up what is almost certainly a new species or even new genus of iguanodont dinosaur. If you don't know what that is, picture like a duck-billed dinosaur, one of these big, usually quadrupedal plant eaters, but a little bit earlier in time. May have had like a thumb spike, like on your classic iguanodont. Anyway, we don't know if our guy had a thumb spike or not, because we haven't found that part. But who knows? This is a live broadcast. Anything can happen. I'll be showing you how we do our work, how we collect these specimens, how painstaking it is, you know. It's not stuff that happens quickly. Even when we do use a jackhammer, like Ethan's got down there right now, that's that thrum that you're hearing. But, yeah, anyway, the whole point of these broadcasts is to be able to do science outreach, to be able to show you what it's like to do science. So you can ask questions, we can interact in real time. You know, this is the best method that I have devised of being able to kind of make science come alive for folks at home. So don't be hesitant with your questions, don't be shy. If you've got questions about dinosaurs in particular, dinosaurs are what I work on, or if you've got questions about other fossil organisms, you've got questions about the history of life on Earth, about extinction or evolution or anything like that. The philosophy of science in general. Don't be shy with those questions. And, oh, I see over there, Jim has arrived too. Papa Jim is in camp. Excellent. Utah's state paleontologist has just arrived. Hopefully he'll be showing up to the quarry in just a little bit. And you can say hi to him. We've got actually kind of a full house today. Not only have we got 186 people watching right now, and Spartan Wolf, thank you for those gift subs. Holy cow. Do I appreciate that. Thank you, Spartan Wolf. Fantastic. Holy cow. Yeah. Good stuff. But we've got Nick Oliver from San Diego. We've got Ken Rayburn from Colorado. And we've got two visitors in the quarry today who are locals here in Utah. So, pretty full quarry today. Ethan's got the jackhammer right there, doing some jackhamming, breaking up some of the overburden, the rock above the bone layer. Let me go show you that. I don't think we've done this yet. On screen. This is a rare piece of heavy equipment. I don't have a lot of stuff like this here. Our beloved Hilti which is kind of a small jackhammer. Runs off the generator over there, and this thing's probably close to 20 years old, I imagine. We make the most of every tool that we have out here, you know? Hey, Don, how long have you had the Hilti?
I started 23 years ago.
At least 23 years old. That Hilti's probably older than Ethan, honestly.
Yeah, older than
yeah. Yeah. Is that uncomfortably loud, chat? Let me know. I can back away. Older than me? Oh yeah, that's correct, Claire Burr. So yeah, go walk around a little bit. Oh, and hey, Jim's here too. His truck is over there by his tent. Anywho, anybody new here? Got any questions or anything? Let me know. If there's any questions I missed in the chat, feel free to repeat them. Yeah. And Moonshaped says, this is super cool. Glad I found out this channel exists. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you here. Yeah. It's such a privilege to be able to share this with you, you know? I feel like there's so many public misperceptions about fossil science, about dinosaurs, about paleontology. And I'm trying to do my part, in my own small way, clear up those misperceptions, show you how we actually do our work, you know? How many new folks who are here for the first time, how many of you woke up this morning and said, oh, I think I'm going to watch a dinosaur dig live on Twitch today? Probably not very many. New folks, anyway. People who are a member of this community, you know, they know what's going on. Yeah. And are you finding new dinosaurs in Utah like we did in Wyoming? Yes, indeed, Sunflower Snoopy, yeah. We've been working this site for about 4 years now. And we have every reason to think that this is a new critter that we're digging up. This iguanodont dinosaur. So, yeah, it's not brand new this summer, but it's new in the sense that it's never been named. It's never been dug up. It's, you know, this is going to be a new kind of dinosaur once it gets published. And Dr. Karen Poole, who is here, she's an expert on iguanodontian dinosaurs, and she's going to be leading the charge in getting this thing studied and named and published. So we're excited about that. I had a great interview with Karen yesterday because we got rained out of the quarry, went back to camp, and thought, oh, I'll make the most of this. Let's just do an interview in camp. So that was a lot of fun. How many of you here were here for that? But yeah, and Volcano Doc, how are you doing? Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. And how long does it take from the dig to the school books? That's a great question, Brett in a Box. That's a great question. In between originally discovering a dinosaur and then getting all the bones out of the ground might be several years. It is in this case. This critter was first discovered 4 years ago now, I think. Before I started working here. And this is our, I think, 4th year working in this particular quarry, digging up this kind of dinosaur. And it'll be probably a couple years to get all the bones studied and cleaned and studied rather. And then it could be another couple years until publication, so could be as much as like a decade from now this thing will finally get published. But hopefully it'll be sooner than that. Hopefully it'll be 2 or 3 years. We'll see. A lot of the bones have already been prepped in the laboratory. They've already been cleaned. They're already, you know, accessioned in the museum. But, yeah, it's going to be a little while. These things take time. It can be literal decades in between when a dinosaur first gets discovered and then when it gets announced to the public and eventually it makes its way into popular dinosaur books and what have you. Yeah, it's a lot of work and a lot of time, for sure. But Thinking about it another way, this animal's been lying in the ground for 140 million years. So, you know, what's a few more years, you know? Yeah. Kind of puts things into perspective. And Crectagar says, question, is there a way to work on excavations without getting a degree? Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a number of different volunteers here. You can publish on dinosaurs and be a paleontologist without a degree. It's like Jim Kirkland says, and you'll probably hear him say it later if he comes to the quarry before the end of the stream. You know, a paleontologist is what a paleontologist does. If you do paleontology, if you're digging fossils, if you're studying them, if you're, maybe the most important thing, publishing on them in the scientific literature, you are a paleontologist. It doesn't necessarily take a degree. That's not necessarily a requirement to be a paleontologist. It's more about doing the actual work, you know? It is kind of nice that that's the case in our field. It isn't the case in some other scientific fields. Ours tends to be a little bit more inclusive, I would say, which is a good thing, in my opinion. And what's the process to cleaning fossils? Bread in a Box wants to know. Yeah, so we take them back to the laboratory, we open up the protective plaster and burlap jackets that we put them in, and you'll probably see some jacketing today. And, yeah, then you use various methods to just remove the rock, the surrounding rock, what we call the matrix, from the fossil. You remove that rock matrix with tools like dental picks, air scribes, which is like a tiny pneumatic jackhammer. It's hooked up to an air compressor. Sometimes we use acid solutions to clear away particularly nasty rock from the fossils. Stuff like that. A lot of glue, a lot of consolidants. Things like polyvinyl acetate glue, PVA. Yeah. And then usually we build protective cradles for some of these bones in order to get them to keep from falling apart when you put them into the drawers in your museum collection. You want something that's going to conform to the shape, the unusual shapes of these bones, so you'll build like a custom cradle for them out of fiberglass and plaster and that kind of deal. And some protective foam. And did we get another raid? This is fantastic. Welcome, raiders. Hello, hello. Fox Walks. How was your stream? I hope it was really good. Welcome to Eastern Utah. And welcome to the earliest Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation, where we're digging up there's almost certainly a new kind of iguanodont dinosaur. I'm pretty excited, as we have been for the past 4 years. Stuff takes time, but I'm glad you're here. Welcome. And a raid from Great Zot before you came on. Yeah, thank you again, Great Zot. Sorry, that was while I was still getting set up here, but I hope you had a great stream too. What did you get up to? Anybody still here from Great Zot? Let me know. But man, it is noisy in there, which is why I'm not currently in the quarry. There's some jackhamming going on with the jackhammer. People in chat weren't too keen on that noise, so I'm just gonna wait till that's over. And then I can show you the bone that I've been working on today. We're gonna try and put a cap on that. So it'll be bye-bye to the humerus today. It's gonna be nice and protected by a little mini plaster jacket over the top of it. Keep it from getting smushed. And Fox Walk says, hi, we were doing a low tide exploration. Very cool. Very cool. I've loved these dinosaur dig streams. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was young, and now you get to see what it's like. Now you can determine whether or not you should regret not becoming a paleontologist. Because whatever you do, you probably get paid a lot better. Anywho, this is my way of trying to show people what it's like. Show them what we do. And so I'm excited that you're here. And I hope you found some really cool stuff doing some low tide exploration. Can I ask which coast you were on? I'm a coastal guy myself. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. So I love doing low tide walks in Alameda and Oakland and San Francisco. It's a lot of fun. But it's summertime, so I'm out here very far from the ocean in the high desert of eastern Utah right now. And how hot is it? It's hot. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's actually 97 right now, so or something like that. We can look at the thermometer in a minute. But it's not hot as it has been. Yeah. Puget Sound near Seattle. Very nice. West Coast, best coast. Yeah. Very cool, Fox Walks. It's great to have you here. Yeah. And Iceman says, are your digs grant funded? They're barely funded at all. No. No, so I'm working here with the Utah Geological Survey, which is it's part of the Department of Natural Resources here in the great state of Utah. So we get a little bit of money for field work every year, and we stretch that. So our budget for this summer is probably about $1,000, something like that. Not including vehicle rents. I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it. But suffice it to say that we make do with we make do with what we've got. Yeah, let's go take a look at the quarry. The generator's going to be going off. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Well, normally I would be helping with, shoveling the overburden here. That's what we were doing all morning. But, yeah.
We can vouch. I was working hard this morning.
I can put the camera down and shovel.
Getting a little extra room.
Yeah. But, yeah.
The shepherds love the rain.
And hello, Zook. How are you doing? Thank you for the 2 months of support at Tier 3. Thank you for that, Zook. It's good to have you here. Yeah. So this is what we call overburden. And it's actually pretty nice that you get to see this, chat, because it's normally something we do exclusively in the morning, not while I'm streaming. So overburden is removing all of the matrix, like the overlying rock and crud above the bone layer. And we were doing this for most of the morning, from about 9 a.m. until about 11 a.m. And now we've just got a little bit more in the afternoon, which is nice.
And it's obviously bad since it's a burden.
We are indeed beasts of overburden.
We want to ease your tax burden and your overburden.
Yeah. So, again.
Not be against it if it's a tax burden.
Call it a tax privilege, you know?
Same off, it just doesn't have as many bones.
So the bone layer, Chad, is down there where Don's knees are. Right along there. Yeah, so it stretches all around here, along the perimeter of the quarry.
And you can buy it if you'd like.
Yeah, Don being Vanna White here. Yeah, but Fisher, Ethan, and Karen are all clearing away some of this loose overburden in order to be able to get down to the bone layer. We could dig with hand tools from way up here, but it would just take a long, long time. We have a good idea of where the bone layer is, and so it really saves us a lot of time to be able to remove that rock with, a heavy artillery, with the jackhammer. So that way we can focus on slowly digging by hand with smaller tools in the actual bone layer itself. Does that make sense? Yeah. And Hakabas says, wait, so there is just nothing but rock above the bone layer? That's the idea. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and here comes Papa Jim over there. Yeah. Nice. Excellent. Yeah. And Suppose Seppo says, isn't there some sort of machine that can see the fossils before digging? No, there isn't. That would certainly make our job easier if we had some sort of magical technology like that, but it's just not how it works. It's not like it is in Jurassic Park, where they shoot that shotgun shell into the ground with that big machine, and then, it's measuring sound waves, and there's the skeleton on the computer screen. It doesn't work like that at all in real life. That sort of technology has been tried, and it doesn't work. Because what we're digging in here is rock. I mean, look at this. This is not soil. This is rock. These rocks are about 140 million years old. And the bone that we find in here is basically the same kind of density and consistency as the surrounding rock. At least to the extent where like a machine wouldn't be able to pick up the difference if you had like ground penetrating radar or sonic imaging or something. It wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The bone itself is basically turned to stone also. There's that lovely humerus that I was showing you the other day. This is the bone that I've been working on here, and we'll hopefully be capping this. But look, we've got surrounding rock and we've got bone in here. You know, like ground penetrating radar is not going to be able to pick up the difference there. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. But yeah. And 3D premises, what is the geology and composition around there? So here in this valley we've got, you know, different kinds of strata, you know, different lithologies, but here in the quarry it's mostly this nice kind of mudstone here. Just like remains of you know, probably an ancient swamp, we're thinking. It's pretty blocky, but pretty low energy environment. This would have been like, you know, still water all throughout here. And I'll make sure that's a pebble and not a tooth. Here. No, that's a pebble. Yeah.
You can go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, still or stagnating. There you go, Jody Fish, yeah. Yeah. And John says, looks like dry clay. It kind of is, you know? One of the techniques that we've been using for digging through some of this stuff when it's a little bit difficult is just spraying it down with water like this. And you get enough water on it, and it basically turns back into mud. You know, after 140 million years, it can still do that, because it's, you know, basically dried mud. Mudstone. So, yeah. Anyhow, good questions so far. I'm going to grab some water, and then maybe we'll go say hi to Jim. You guys did all that jackhammering and got a new spot to get involved. There you go, Jody Fish, yeah. That's the idea. Trying to move out horizontally across the quarry and expose more area for digging with hand tools. That's the whole point. Yeah. Yeah. And Brett in a Box says, is there any particular prep or recovery from being in the sun so long? Oh yeah, you know, sunscreen, drinking lots and lots of water, and then also trying to stay under these shade tarps as much as possible. So this is kind of what allows us to be able to work out here in the heat during one of the hottest times of year, is having shade like this. It makes a big difference. The actual ground temperature in direct sunlight in the heat of the day can be up to, I don't know, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That'd be like, what, like 50 degrees Celsius at the ground surface in direct sunlight? Under the shade tarps, it'll be significantly cooler, you know, maybe high 90s or something like that. So it's really important that we have shade. It's a real lifesaver out here. And we can thank Dawn for that. And Hagabus says having a helmet like that is, of course, absolutely essential. I mean, having some kind of hat, something to keep the sun off your face and off your head. And a sun helmet like this is the best thing that I've ever had in really, really high temperatures outside. Because kind of like a hard hat, it allows for like a layer of air between your head and the helmet itself. And so anytime there's even the slightest breeze, it just goes right over the top of your head, under the helmet, but over the top of your head. It's like natural air conditioning. It's wonderful. There's a reason why the U.S. Postal Service uses these on really hot days. And it's because of that. It's the best head covering you can have, in my opinion. And probably in their opinion, too. The fisher here in the quarry has also got a... Yeah, there you go. There's a sun helmet. And that's an official USPS one from the Postal Service. So... Actually, can we come take a look at that, Fisher?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think Chad will be interested to see your shirt, too.
When we started working.
Normal, healthy adult turtles.
But it just was like immediately.
Yeah. But yeah, this is awesome. So this is like plastic. Mine is like pressed fiber, they call it.
Yeah.
So mine's like a, military surplus one. I think this is U.S. Army.
Yeah.
But that's a Postal Service issue one.
The headband in mine is completely ruined.
We'll get that fixed somehow.
It's brittle, unlike
Yeah.
the leather. So.
Yeah. The leather will, I don't know, stretch and crack, but it's not brittle in the same way, I guess. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Richard. Yeah. And that shirt is awesome, people are saying. Yes. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, and Chad, have you met Nick yet? Nick, have you been on stream yet?
I think I introduced myself out in Wyoming.
Just briefly, yeah. Yeah.
We have the. Is anyone using the cloud?
In Club?
I don't know where it is.
It's back over there. By
Yeah, it's sitting up next to the action packer, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here comes Jim.
Here he comes, just walking down the street.
Yeah.
Wow.
What you were doing? A little lower down now.
Okay.
Thanks, Ethan.
Jim, are you a cyborg now?
Yeah, I want to see how this thing works. The one I wanted to buy, my wife said, you can't buy that one. Through Facebook. She bought me this one through Amazon.
Smart.
It was too small.
Oh.
The other ones were clearly much bigger.
Mm.
And this cost more money. So we'll see.
Nice.
Supposedly this plate, if I set it all away, I'm not going to, it's 55 degrees.
Oh, man. Nice.
Too cold.
That's nothing.
Almost got to put a piece of tape over it or something. Just add a little bit of insulation. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody in chat saying hi to you, Jim.
Well, I mean, it's kind of amusing,
Yeah.
which is not far from.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone's here for the very first time and you don't know Jim, this is Utah's state paleontologist, Jim Kirkland. Discoverer of dinosaurs like Gastonia and Utah Raptor and a number of others. I just got in from Salt Lake City a couple minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, somebody was asking, how much do paleontologists get paid? Oh, shoot, when we do, it's,
Depends on what you do.
yeah, it's often not very much, but, yeah. Shoot, we were talking with Karen about this yesterday, about, like, working in a medical school. That's,
Everybody goes, this is easy.
but you make a pretty good living working at a medical school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make like 95K. Yeah.
Wow. Shoot.
At assistant professor level. So
Yeah, that's-
and they think I'm cheap because
Right.
positions even
Yeah, if you're an
positions who
MD
are
or
teaching,
something, yeah.
like they can like really demand a higher salary. So
Uh-huh.
they think us PhD scientists will work for cheap, but for paleontologists we think that's really great.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the low end of that scale, I know like adjunct professors at state schools who might
Yeah.
make like $11,000
For like teaching
For, like,
a bunch of courses. Yeah.
a bunch of courses,
Yeah.
yeah, and
So-
bringing in grants, and sometimes having students as an adjunct. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a
So
it's a big
there's a
spectrum.
huge range, and it depends
Yeah.
on what you do and in what context and at what level, and
Yeah,
there's,
yeah.
there's all kinds of factors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm freelance, so I make my living through Twitch.
Yeah.
So it's a meager living, but it allows me a lot of freedom. and that's really nice. But I'm the only paleontologist I know of who does this full time. So.
Yeah, there's other people who do sort of like
They'll do
outreach in various ways, but yeah, I think you're the only one on Twitch.
Yeah, yeah. The only one who like makes his living doing this.
Yeah.
So far,
Yeah.
I'd like to see more. Yeah, but yeah.
Crystal geyser. Oh, it's only 100 today. It feels cool.
Honestly, it's not too bad today.
115 hot. 110
That's all right. That's all right.
Here, let's see what the current temperature is. We got the little thermometer.
We like that. Bryce last week, I think we were like 90s max.
Let's see.
Because the week before, I know.
There we go.
I don't think we can go.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do this.
Not too bad. We've had hotter days.
So no floods over the year before.
Yeah.
Well, the humidity, right?
Joe Wingy says, occasionally a very rich man in a helicopter might land on your dig and offer you big consulting gigs. That'd be nice. Couldn't say no to that.
Yeah, it was pretty humid.
Yeah, spared no expense. Yes, you'll see right here, Ethan is using that whisk broom to just make a nice clean surface there. So, do you think that's it for the hill teeth throughout here? That's it for jackhamming?
For today, at least.
For today,
I
okay.
mean, there's still another foot probably I could go down, but
Oh yeah, shoot.
playing it safe for now.
Yeah.
Being raised in
Enough overburden for one
like, I
day.
go back to the Bay Area. That's perfect. It just never felt too humid.
Yeah, because that's like it's like
Yeah.
not swamp.
You got fog that comes in all July.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish we had our own bobcat.
Yeah.
So get your folks. You guys got to use bobcat?
Yeah, anybody in chat? You've got a... Yeah. Not the mammal, the the piece of construction equipment.
That's literally what I'm saying every time. Like, John goes, we had a bobcat, and I was like, what? Why was a bobcat out here?
Dug this giant hole? I've never heard of bobcats
And
doing
what's the
that.
matter with the bobcat?
Occasionally they'll live in burrows, but this is ridiculous, you know? Yeah.
Kid of their box, maybe. Yeah. You should see, I was like, my face betrayed me too, because you could see that I was totally seeing a cat. I was like, and Don was like, yeah.
Only have the wildcat moon-shaped well, that's okay. Yeah.
The peacocks in Emery County have a bobcat they'll bring out. They're hardcore.
I know, it's
Look
like
at that. With them, we'll take you some nodules, some Mancos nodules. He's like a pitchfork and like a wagon. Wow. Both of them, they're in their 60s with pitchforks.
Nice.
That was pretty funny.
the engineers and stuff. So
Yeah, I wonder, can somebody in the chat look it up? How much does a used bobcat cost? Again, the machine, not the...
You know who should give us one?
Not the
is
carnivore.
Basso.
I think that
Yeah. And someone was asking if we sell bones to museums. We don't. No. So we're working for a museum here. All of these fossils that we're digging up are going to go to the Natural History Museum of Utah in Salt Lake.
Kind of calm down my.
So,
I just think some of these I found.
yeah. Of our crew here or volunteer for the Utah Geological Survey, and then all the fossils that we dig up here are going to the selling them. We can't do that. This is public land, and so these fossils belong to we, the people of the United States. You know, they're federal public property. They're part of our collective natural heritage here as Americans, and so they're not for sale. Yeah. That would be super, super illegal.
Unbearable.
And Salt Lake, very cool, Kaihira. Well, you are lucky to live in one of the most dinosaur fossil-rich states in the U.S. And there are some cool museums around where you live. Not just the museum in Salt Lake, where all of these fossils are going to be headed, but also you've got the museum at Thanksgiving Point down in Lehigh. You've got the museum at BYU down in Provo. You've got the museum in Blanding. Some really, really cool museums around here, and there are so many dinosaur fossils in Utah. You don't know how lucky you are to live here. And so how could I put an iguanodon in my living room if I would participate? You could 3D print an iguanodon. Yeah. I also should hasten to add that the dinosaur we're digging up here is not actually iguanodon. It's a member of the same family. but it's about 20 million years older than iguanodon. This is something new that we're digging up here, but it's not iguanodon itself. It's maybe something similar to maybe like iguanacolossus. Yeah, or kind of similar to Camptosaurus too. Camptosaurus is earlier. Iguanacolossus is probably a little bit later than this guy. But yeah. And what states have you been to for a dig? Asked Brett in a box. So far, let's see, in chronological order, I think it would be, let's see, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, Nevada, and California. I've done field work in so far. I don't think I'm leaving any out. But yeah. Good fossils in all those states. And Tuatara, we only have Moab bones here, and living dinosaurs like Tuatara. Well, Tuatara is not a dinosaur. It's a sphenodontian reptile. It's also not a lizard. A lot of people think Tuatara is a lizard, but it's not. They actually evolved before the first lizards did. That whole group, Rhynchocephalia. But there are a few scraps of dinosaur bone from New Zealand nowadays. They're just not super diagnostic. We can't really say what kind of dinosaur it is, but we can say it's little chunks of dinosaur bone. But there's not much else we can say apart from that, as far as I can tell. As far as I know. Yeah. And Space Cadet Cat says the prospect of desert heat is what put me off my childhood dream of becoming a paleontologist. Y'all are made of tough stuff. You know, we're out here because we love it, not because it's comfortable. Oh, yeah. But that being said, there are paleontologists who don't work out in the desert. There are paleontologists who rarely leave the laboratory for their line of work. It takes all different kinds of people to be paleontologists, you know? There are paleontologists who primarily do computer modeling, who do, maybe they work on modern animals as, kind of like an analog for extinct organisms. There are paleontologists who mostly do, like making evolutionary family trees, phylogenies. Yeah, but as a kid, I always dreamed of coming out to places like this and digging up dinosaurs in the field, and I've been very lucky to be able to do that almost every summer since 2011. So it's been good, you know. I was born to do this. And the heat it's fine, you know. You get used to it.
Jump in and be a servant. Eat her alive.
And Samar faces inside paleontologists, like inside cats. There you go. Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. Chuck a front bucket on a tractor and use it as a grader, says Nimrod. It would be great if we had a tractor out here, but we don't, you know. Again, can somebody in chat maybe look that up? I apologize if I missed it, if somebody already did this. But can somebody in the chat look up how much a used bobcat would cost if we were to raise funds for that kind of a thing? Be able to bring that out here. How much money would that take for a used bobcat, one of those little like front loader tractors? About 6,000 in your area. Okay, Jody Fish, that's doable. Yeah. Oh, about 8K? Thank you, Claire. 25 to 40, 30, 69K. Under 10K, says Claire Burr. Okay. It's probably doable. Yeah. Yeah. Something to think about, maybe. Yeah. Anywho. Put one up on throne. There you go, Jody Fish. Yeah. And yeah, Thor LP is probably cheaper to just rent it when you need. Maybe. But, you know, that adds up. If we could get one donated, holy cow, that would be cool. Yeah. But yeah, and Crimson Carnotaurus says, would using a construction vehicle like that be fine at paleontological sites? So we've used one, I say we, I mean this crew has used one at this site before. In part to help, like, you know, redirect one of these washes here to keep the site from getting totally flooded. As long as you're not digging through the bone layer, then you're fine, you know? Just got to be careful about it. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. And Dr. Terminator's got a great question. They say, I'm a young adult, but have been in the city all my life. What transition or preparation to spend a long period of time in the Badlands for somebody that has never been too much outside, like where to start? I'd also like to hear how other paleontologists prepared for their first time. Ooh. That's a good question. Yeah. Here, Ethan, can I ask you about that? Yeah. Any advice for viewers who are maybe interested in pursuing a career in paleontology, but they're city slickers, you know, they've never really been outside the city? What would you do, what would you recommend that they do in order to, like, get acclimated to life outside?
Exercise, go on hikes.
Don't rely on climate control so much in your house if you have control over that.
There you go.
Get cold, get hot.
Like, I'm not saying don't use AC if it's 120 degrees outside, but like, you know, limit it.
You'll
you
save
know?
money.
I keep, yeah,
You'll
exactly.
lose
Save money. Like, I live in Arkansas and I use my AC pretty minimally. You know, we turn it on and keep the thermostat at like 78, like when we really have to, and otherwise we open up the windows.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah.
So live like that a little bit. Be a little bit more sort of aware of the weather and your sort of outside environment. And there's no reason you can't do that no matter where you live.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you when I was a kid.
Like, I don't notice, like, the heat out here isn't that bad.
It's, yeah, I mean, you really,
as long as you're in the shade.
you get used to it after a while. Yeah. I don't know, I feel like you need kind of a baseline of resilience, I guess. And then it's like after that, it's got to be really bad for it to bother you at all, you know?
Yeah, and that's
Just gotta do it a lot.
Yeah.
And it'll suck, and then it'll suck less over time.
That's good, yeah. Yeah. Shoot, when I was a kid, starting at like maybe age 10 or 11, I realized that, like, hey, I want to be a paleontologist. I better get ready for this kind of thing. I better get ready for field work in whatever way I can. And so I did stuff like, well, shoot, I read Michael Novacek's autobiography of fieldwork called Time Traveler. Great book. Highly recommend it. But read about all of his travails in the field and all these difficult conditions he had to work under and everything, and I thought, I better get tough like that. And so what I used to do, growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, weather's pretty nice, really nice Mediterranean climate. But, it gets a little cold during the winter, it gets a little hot during the summer. And so what I used to do is I'd set an alarm, on my, like, little alarm clock radio thing. So what I'd do is when I'd go to bed, I'd open up the windows in my room, and then I'd go down and sleep on the floor. So it would just be outside temperature inside, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's whatever. And then I have an alarm set for like 5 a.m. so I could wake up and get back into bed. So my mom didn't know that I was doing this. Because she probably would not have approved. She'd be like, what are you doing? But it's stuff like that, little things that you can use to kind of train yourself in order to be more comfortable under adverse circumstances. When your whole life is indoor comfort, you can kind of go soft a little bit. And that can be a bit of an impediment for, being out here for 2 months out of the year, like I am this year. So yeah, be comfortable sleeping on the ground or sleeping in a tent. Be comfortable with just being outside a lot. That goes a long way towards success in the field. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. And let's see. But yeah. $6,000 location, Alabama. Thank you, Limey Show. Cool. Yeah. And yeah, Time Traveler is a great book, Laerty. If you get a chance to read it, absolutely. Crack it open. Great book. Yeah, Kina Wolfie says, honestly, having your house under 70 degrees in the summer really does make your tolerance for going outside into said heat. It's more difficult to endure those temperatures. Yeah, for sure. And Elder Shadow says, my state has no fossils, as there aren't any surface rocks of the right age to preserve them. Elder Shadow, do you live in Hawaii? Because otherwise there will be fossils. There are fossils in all 50 U.S. states, if you're talking about U.S. states. Probably, maybe not dinosaur fossils, but there will be fossils of some kind. Even Hawaii, I think, has some rare fish fossils here and there. There are some sedimentary rocks in Hawaii, I think. It's not all igneous, as far as I know. So yeah, don't despair. I'm sure there's some fossils somewhere in the state where you live. Yeah. And let's see. There you go, Samarfe, yeah. Yeah. And no dinosaurs in Hawaii? There's no non-avian dinosaurs in Hawaii. Yeah. And can anybody in the chat tell me why there are no Mesozoic dinosaurs in Hawaii? Let's play the Jeopardy music here. Anybody tell me why? I know there's a little bit of a delay in the stream. And, yep. If you said something like Hawaii is too young, those islands were formed by recent volcanic activity, then ding ding ding, you are correct. The Hawaiian Islands did not exist during the age of dinosaurs. I think they're like less than 30 million years old, which puts them squarely in the age of mammals, in the Cenozoic. So there are no Mesozoic rocks, especially no Mesozoic terrestrial rocks in Hawaii. The land is way too young, exactly. Lenny, yes, indeed. Yeah. And Shuga Lenny says, awesome, yeah. Those are props and animatronics. There you go, Crimson Carnotaurs. Yeah, some people do associate the Hawaiian Islands with dinosaurs, and that's probably because of Jurassic Park, because the original Jurassic Park was filmed on several of the Hawaiian Islands, and a lot of other places, too. And did any dinosaurs evolve into sea creatures, asks Freelancer. A few, yeah. A few of the birds did. Birds are living dinosaurs. Let's just get that out of the way right from the start. Dinosaurs never went completely extinct. We still have over 9,000 species of living dinosaur today. Birds. Birds evolved from small, feathered, two-legged, meat-eating dinosaurs like Velociraptor. And, yeah. So there are several birds that live almost entirely at sea. They might only come to land to breed, to lay their eggs. Thinking of birds like albatrosses and skuas and some birds like that. And there were birds like this during the Cretaceous as well, during the last period in the age of the dinosaurs. Birds like Hesperornithiforms. Some of them may have lived almost their entire lives at sea. They don't seem to have been able to walk around very well. And they certainly couldn't fly. Their wings were like this big for a bird that's like 6 feet long. So, yeah. So dinosaur nuggets are dinosaur nuggets. It's true. Hakabas, yeah. Yeah, it is true. Yeah. Wombat Hole says, I would rather put on gloves and move overburden with a shovel than have a gym membership. Me too. In fact, that's what I've done until this summer. I did finally buckle and get a gym membership a couple weeks ago. But, yeah, that's because I don't get to do overburden during the winter. So I got to make sure that I stay fit when I'm not out in the field. You know? Yeah. Nimrod says, BRB going to have an existential moment about if seabirds are sea creatures. It depends. How do you define sea creature? Yeah. Is an albatross a sea creature? It gets all of its food from the sea. It's, out above the ocean for the vast majority of its life, and then maybe for a little while, I don't know if the males do this, but I know the females will go and lay their eggs on land. Yeah. So, yeah. And Where Ducky says, a couple weeks ago seems like poor timing given the travel plans. I wanted to get started, build a habit when I was home for a few weeks. Because last week I was back home in the Bay Area, and I wanted to start building that gym habit before I get back from the field for good this year, So that's why I did that. Dr. Terra says, if polar bears are marine animals, then albatross is a sea creature. There you go. Yeah. My gym doesn't have an overburden pile yet, Samar Faye, but we'll see. Yeah. And holy cow, we've got 525 people watching right now. This is brilliant. Yeah. We're going to go take a look at the quarry. I've been spending time outside because we've got so many people in there and it's a little noisy. I don't want to overwhelm anybody too much. But we will go back in a couple minutes and I'll show you around the quarry. I'll show you some bones. And maybe I can get a cap on that one, that humerus bone that I've been working on.
The only way to fix that is you got to buy a whole new...
Yeah. Oh, gym habit, not gin. Paramethitol. Paracetamol.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. It's when the gasket on the
Yeah.
tank starts going, yeah.
Anyhow, it is hot out here, outside of the shade tarp.
It's like $45.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go back into the quarry. Oh, and I'll show off, for anybody who's new, how we happen to be streaming from the middle of nowhere, Utah. The magic of satellite internet here. We've got our dish, our router, solar battery, and solar panels. All of this was made possible by generous contributions from viewers like you, so thank you for that. Could not be here if it weren't for that. Yeah. And Gigantor, which Amazon wish list are you talking about? Because there's a couple. There's a Wyoming one, and then there's a general one. Yeah. And Zara Spook says, do you think all dinosaurs could swim? That's a great question for Jim, actually. Let's see if we can get Jim to speak on that. Because there's an interesting new discovery. Yeah.
I refuse to say I can't do this anymore. But it's like they just don't bend.
Oh, your knees?
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, my knees.
Yeah.
I got the knee pads in my tin. They're useless. They just make it even stiffer.
Oof. Yeah, just watch the humerus there. I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get in close and...
Yeah. And Zara Spook, yeah, that I think is totally valid. You know, swimming theropods like that.
Oh, God.
Anyway, we'll ask,
Oh, yeah,
we'll ask Jim in a minute.
Okay, let's put those bones. I was just going to start peeling some of this off the bone.
Here. Grab the quarry map off of here.
Until this is all gone.
Visual aids, we'll look at that in a bit.
Careful of his paps still in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already trenched the rock right here.
And Ophelia, hey, welcome to Paleontologizing. It's great to have you here. So you're an Alvea Sanctuary viewer. It's good to have you here.
Come out here. Drag
welcome to
me
Utah.
out, show me some stuff. I had no clue. I haven't heard anything.
Huh.
Let's see. So I can't use that bucket.
No, you can.
You can now.
Yeah, fair game.
I just took it out. Take the bones out of it.
Yeah. And we've got a question about swimming dinosaurs for you, Jim, when you've got a minute, but I'll...
Swimming dinosaurs.
But we can wait a few minutes while you're looking at that.
Most can swim.
Yeah. Do you think there are any dinosaurs that couldn't swim? That was the question. And maybe we could talk about the punting trackways, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we got plenty of evidence theropods regularly going in the water. Sauropods going in the water.
Your long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs are sauropods. Two-legged meat-eaters are the theropods.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have thousands of theropod swim tracks now. You know, and I always think of more as floundering tracks.
Yeah.
Because they're, they're still partly floating.
Right.
You know, it's, if they're swimming, we have no record.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So
What? You got a bunch of chunklets?
but we know that they're hanging out in the water a lot. You're getting thousands of them.
Do we have any ornithischian swim tracks?
There's no bone texture.
Because they're not as pneumatized as saurischians.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that has something to do with it.
Well, I would expect, hadrosauriforms, or, interacting with water a lot because they washed out to sea so often.
Sure. Yeah.
But, and they're certainly not washing out from the desert. So they're in estuarine environments and things. But do we have poling tracks from hadrosaurs? You would think, there'd be swim tracks
Yeah.
of hadrosaurs, and you'd think you'd be able to tell them from other things. That's one inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
Theropods are, pretty common. There are lots of theropod swim tracks.
Again, your two-legged meat-eating dinosaurs like T-Rex or Velociraptor or Allosaurus.
Dilophosaur type things.
So many things from the early Jurassic.
Yeah, I mean, St. George, they're going out fishing, and they're probably, I think, they're going out there seasonally when the fish are nesting. But I think we have fish nests there.
Oh, interesting.
Big depressions. We thought they were sauropod tracks for a while, but then we're realizing, they're not in any kind of pattern, and and it makes sense. We've got a lot of big fish.
Right.
So, these may be big fish depressions, fish will seep out bowl areas.
Sure.
And, I've been up there, Lake Migratory Bird Refuge, when the carp are spawning, and about 10 feet off the shore of all these bodies of water, it's like you can walk on the squirming carps, big 3-footer, big carps, mating and nesting, and they're just a solid mass of them. And if I was a bear, you'd just walk out there and start eating them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not paying attention to much of anything. They're doing their thing, and they're in huge numbers, and that might be why they congregate so densely when they're doing that.
Right.
But obviously, fishing, fish that have behaviors like that, animals can co-evolve like bears have.
Yeah.
To take advantage of it. And of course, carp aren't native. So these are
Asian or European carp.
So our animals wouldn't have co-evolved to deal with nesting season on carps. And bass tend to do a similar kind of scooped out nests. I don't know if the carp are making nests like that. They're just like 3 feet of water, 4 feet of water, squirming mass of carp that go for hundreds of meters along the sides of these bodies of water. I really don't know what the effect on the sediment below them is, but
interesting ecological study.
Make these shallow nests.
Yeah.
And where I've looked at that stuff, they tend to be more isolated from each other. But I expect things like lepidotes, a lot of these fish that are in the seminotids are probably doing similar things. Somebody's making these nests at Lake Whitmore, in the early Jurassic. And certainly the wear on the teeth, I am as positive as I could possibly be that those things are eating fish. And that's how they get that wear on their teeth.
Yeah.
I have no other explanation, and certainly I welcome people to show that I'm wrong, because that's how science works.
Can you speak maybe a little bit on the, what's the terminology that you used? Was it punting?
Punting, which I'm not sure I'm thrilled. I love the word punting, but that is the best word for it. It's, they're not doing it from like a boat, when they're punting, they're standing on a boat doing it. These animals, and like capybaras today,
they'll kind of push off the bottom.
Tapirs and things, hippos, they're almost running along the bottom.
Yeah.
And they're just poling along with their feet, and they're totally submerged. And as Don has been working at Canyonlands, and Tracy Thompson's been working, all over this region on the early Jurassic stuff, there's gazillions of tracks of animals that don't have claws, so they're not chirotheres, which are archosaurs.
Sure.
They're probably big amphibians, and because they're just rounded toes. But you see these toe marks. The one name I like for them is toe dinks.
But Andrew Milner hear you say that.
What's this?
Andrew says never say that.
Oh, he hates it? Yeah. Well, we know a few paleontologists that hate terms of other people.
Yep.
But, basically, Don's got a huge area. We're going to see if we get funding to work on it, or for Don to work on it. But these things are, obviously habitually doing this. You know, I mean, there's plenty of film footage of capybaras and tapirs,
yeah,
cruising along,
yeah,
you know, using the bottom and just propelling themselves at pretty high speed, you know, along that substrate interface.
Maybe dinosaurs like Dilophosaurus might have been doing the same thing?
They could well have been, but they're probably floating.
Probably floating,
Yeah. See, at St. George, the swim tracks there, you can see where the animals, like, were walking with their weight supporting them in shallow water.
Yeah.
And then they step off this edge. And all of a sudden they're floating.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden you get all these swim tracks. And the swim tracks tend to be oriented the opposite of the current direction indicators. Kind of like a longshore current.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I say flounder.
Right.
Those. You know, and I think they're down there hunting fish.
Yeah.
Because they have narial retraction as well. You know, so when the nares are pulled back from the snout,
it's characteristic
typically you want your nares up front
so
you can smell things as you're eating it to make sure it's not poison, you know. That's a good thing. But if you're going to be shoving your nose in the water all the time, you know, like herons, you know, storks, pulling your narial opening back along the side of your snoot makes some sense. In fact, then you can actually have your snoot just in the water, which cuts down the turbulence when you strike, which might, if you miss, fish around there might not get as scared, you know.
Sure.
So you're not stirring up everything for a long distance. But, you know, I seriously think they're hunting fish. And I think they're totally capable of swimming.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, it's just when they're swimming, we don't have any traces.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Jim. Yeah. And thank you, Raiders, for coming in. Holy cow. Who was that who raided in just a minute ago? Appreciate it. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Storm Molina and your 129 Raiders. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Broadcasting to you live from eastern Utah, from the earliest Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation. And we're digging up what got every indication is a new kind of iguanodont dinosaur. So I'm pretty excited about that. And 231 Raiders from L Envy, L Envy, welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. Karen, were you asking what a raid is?
No, I said what? Double raid?
Yeah, holy cow. Thank you.
I know what a raid is.
Awesome. Yeah.
I know something about Twitch, a little.
Yeah, welcome Raiders. It is great to have you here. And, I'm trying to find a place to kind of stay out of the way and not be too obnoxious, because we've got so many people in the quarry today. It's pretty jam-packed in here.
Yeah, we're trying to stay out of your way a little bit. Show something.
I'd love to be able to get a cap on this thing today, but I'm not sure if we're going to have time. It's 4:45 already. I'm sure we can. Yeah. But, Lord Nubalot says, this is awesome. Well, welcome. It's great to have you here. And Stormalina says, I'm from St. George. Fun to see my Utah desert? Yeah. Jim, what can you tell us about why St. George is so special to us dinosaur paleontologists?
Well, I mean, before we ever, found before Sheldon Johnson found the track site St. George, I drive through there and I'm going, this place is going to have stuff. No question. So when I got this job real early on, I said, I'm going to go down there and look. Before I even had a chance, I got the call. They found a big track site down there.
Nice.
But one of the things that makes that place so special is the rocks seem to span the Triassic-Jurassic extinction boundary.
Really?
Oh yeah, in the Moab Formation. So the Whitmore Point, apparently which is the upper member, largely a pair of lakes superimposed, two lake cycles. That's where the swim tracks are, and on this coast of those, a lot of walking traces. But they're full of fishes, fossils, and in addition to the tracks, we've got bone sites. Here, and they're not as many as we would like, but they're there. And that's intention. That's like basal Jurassic, as this is basal Cretaceous.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, which lets you learn some things that you don't get otherwise. You know, here we're getting to see, you know, what was around after the big Morrison extinction, because we just, you know, this is nothing like the Morrison in terms of the dinosaurs.
Right.
You know, we may have a couple survivors. You know, the iguanodonts may come out of camptosaurs, which is what Karen's working on, is, you know, to see that and see how close, or are they coming in
From Europe,
things, you know, from Europe. You know, it's,
Yeah.
but those are doable because there's a ton of material. Same thing with the armored dinosaurs. You know, the nodosaur from this site, you know, well, they give rise to them. The coelacanthine from this site that's new, you know, is it coming out of Moab, which is a Jurassic thing that I think is giving rise to polycanthines. But does that group give rise to them in Europe and they come here? I think they give rise to them here and then they go to Europe. I'm kind of betting that. I may not live long enough to see that proved one way or another.
But that, like,
But
Gargoylosaurus.
the data will
and-
be there. It will be proved eventually. I mean, that's the thing with all of this stuff that just drives me nuts. We know the fossils are here.
Yeah.
You know, we know the answers are here. It's just going to take a while to dig up all these answers.
Yep.
You know, and resolve this stuff.
Got limited personnel
But
and
we
limited
know
funding.
they're here now. That was my accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's like, we know it's here. And now the big goal of my life before I leave this orb is to try to guarantee that this keeps going beyond me.
We've got some people in chat saying, is this guy a living encyclopedia? And yeah, this is Utah State paleontologist Jim Kirkland right here. Discoverer of such dinosaurs as Gastonia and Utah Raptor and my Morapelta, yeah. Jim's Morapelta, as we sometimes joke. Yeah.
But it really is nuts that we lose the Morrison fauna.
Yeah.
You know, the Jurassic Park goes extinct. You know, and you know, there's a couple possible candidates for why that happens.
Yeah.
You know,
This is exciting, like cutting edge stuff.
yeah, there's a flood plateau about 1,000 miles, maybe a couple thousand miles east of Japan. It dates at the end of the Jurassic.
Like a tsunami deposit kind of a deal?
No,
or?
it's flood basalts.
Flood basalts.
But it's under
Oh.
ocean. It's a
Volcanic. Okay.
But there have been people that have even interpreted it as giant shield volcano. And the thing with flood basalts is they in place over millions of years.
Right.
You know, and so
That's not
in terms
a one
of,
and done
like,
thing. It takes a long
we're
time.
pretty comfortable that we're probably within 2 million years now.
Yeah.
You know, this site to the end of the Jurassic.
Huh.
You know, when the Morrison-style faunas, you know, are wiped out.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty rapid turnover, you know, of a very diverse fauna. I mean, megalosaurs go out, ceratosaurs go out, allosaurids go out, diplodocids go out. I tend to think chimerosaurs. I think a lot of the possible chimerosaurs
Actually, Turiosaurs?
I think they're going to end up being Turiosaurs. I may be wrong, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, what to do? But there's no question. A lot, you know. There's what, 6 kinds of diplodocid in the Morrison?
Yeah.
The whole group is gone. It doesn't occur in the early Cretaceous anywhere. You get, you know, dicraeosaurs. You know, which is a subgroup that are surviving in the southern hemisphere. Rabachisaurs that become weird, specialized, you know, grazers in the Tethys Mediterranean region. But there's certainly nothing in North America, and there are different sidelines of that group, you know. But the plodocids proper, like Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, Parasaurus, you know, they're all gone. You know. Wiped off the map, and they were very successful in Morrison. You know, I really do think you know, they were killed off, and all these big predators. You know, we have this diverse, large predator guild in the Morrison.
Allosaurs, ceratosaurs,
boom, you cut it down
corvosaurs.
to like 1 or 2 big ones at a time in the Cretaceous. Completely different ecosystem.
Yeah.
After that, you know, what did it? It's the top of the food chain that gets wiped out, which is, you know, during crisis, they're the ones that are going to get hit harder.
Sure. Yeah. So what we're working in right now, these rocks are from the earliest Cretaceous period. This, would you call this like a recovery fauna?
Yeah, basically it's the earliest. Well, we've got a level below this that's produced bone. You know, and at some point you've seen it got where, you know, the top of the little bluff, there's the chert beds which are right under this. But then below we have all these ferruginous ironstone paleosols. Well, over by the Utah Raptor Ridge sites, down in that level, we have at least an ankylosaur, and over a pretty good stretch, there's bones. They're just more dispersed. So you can't just like dig like we do here.
Sure.
And just, you know, you'd be digging, you know, a long time, months between bones. They're bones, there's no doubt. And we have identifiable, you know, we got a nice humerus that Don found, and you look at that compared to these guys, they look a lot more like Mimor pelta than they do the more derived polycanthines we see from this level up.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I joke, could this still be Jurassic? You know? You know, and the boundary is actually in the basal Cedar Mountain. You know, once again,
that would be
stuff to work on.
Yeah, shoot, that would be a big deal if it turns out that like where we think the Jurassic Cretaceous boundary is actually misplaced.
Well, one of the things I find interesting, I don't know if anyone's ever looked at these sequences for like iridium.
Yeah.
There's this impact, you know, Maracuigan impact almost as big as Chicxulub, you know, in the Caribbean, that hits in northern South Africa, right in crystalline continental rocks.
Yeah.
You know, an 80-kilometer across crater.
Yeah.
But it just hammers into hard, solid rock inland, you know, of the ocean. And you would think, given what we know about iridium, well, shouldn't there be iridium fallout at that level? You know, and I don't know of anyone who's ever. I mean, it's usually an unconformity. You know, that's part of our problem with that. Anyway.
So usually those rocks just don't exist from this particular time that we're looking at.
Yeah, it's a gap. That's how they defined the boundary originally.
What's that big unconformity
there? You know, all this
there?
Jurassic stuff. Then there's a little erosion surface, and we got all the stuff that's really different. And that's what we're going to call Cretaceous.
Right.
But that was just named because they were so vastly different.
Yeah.
And there was a gap, you know, between them. But in Britain, where this stuff, you know, that Europe where it got named, Britain's actually got the boundary in the Purbeck. But they only got like 2 dinosaurs in the Purbeck. You know, they got more crocodilians and turtles and things. And the dinosaurs, you know, one's a little heterodinosaur, the other is a camptosaur, Chimeria. And, you know, they say that's basal Cretaceous. Well, is it, or is it latest Jurassic? Or does that turnover happen in the basal Cretaceous? You know, the boundary was not defined on the turnover of faunas. You know, the same with the Aptian Birimian extinction turnover. That almost certainly is occurring in the basal Aptian, not at the stage boundary. The boundary wasn't named for the turnover. You know, it was named on changes in the rocks. And this is, you know, kind of complicates the issue. The Triassic boundary, where they put the boundary, is actually well above the extinction point. You know, for there as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Paul Olson, you know, Lamont Doherty, who's really works on that stuff a lot. You know, he really doesn't like it. He's like, there's nothing that happens there. But there's like a paleomagnetic boundary. There's a couple of things that have global. You can pick the boundary better. You know, and the fossils, you know, that show the turnover are not as common. You know, you can't nail it as easy. You know, these are things, you know, that do drive the public crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it really does. Man.
Let's see. Can I grab you a water bottle or something, Jim? Have you got?
You could grab me except the dark pad there. I think it's a power.
That's a clipboard right there. Yeah. Do we have another pillow for Jim somewhere?
Threw a couple pads in, but they're not with me.
Oh, cool.
There's some under my
Thanks,
shoulder. But
yeah.
You know, what the heck's happening with this stuff?
Yeah.
You know? mean, that's why this quarry needs to be worked for a long time, because it's got a lot of iguanodonts, but it has other animals as well. Mm-hmm. You know. And,
yep. Oh, we got an ankylosaur question for you, Jim, from Dr. Terminator. In Wikipedia, it says that Cedar pelta is closely related to Liaoningosaurus and Chuan-Ki-Long.
Yeah, I do not agree with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't know where that... I mean, that's coming out of, what is his name, Tom Raven's work? Yeah. I don't know. It makes no sense at all.
There's your answer. Good question. Yeah.
I agree. I think Cedar pelta could be tied to the base of the Struthiosaurus, Europelta.
Okay.
It's possible that it's tied
European
to the base of those things.
Notosaurs?
Or it could be tied to the base of Ankylosauria, the Chamosaurus.
Oh, okay.
It's got a character that you don't get in Liaoningosaurus and stuff, where the opening, the postorbital, the lower temporal opening, is covered up by bone extending back to the orbit. Yeah. So there is an opening, but you got to go behind that and under. You don't see it from the side of the head. And it hasn't like closed up. It's just been covered by bone on the outside of the skull, extending back. So basically, you see that in the Chamosaurs and all Ankylosaurs. Okay. Chamosaurines or Ankylosaurs before they get a tail club.
Oh, okay.
They have a handle. They can use the rod at the end, at least, some of them do.
Chamosaurs from Mongolia, right?
Chamosaurus, and then you've got stuff from North China. Tend to be early Cretaceous.
Gotcha.
In Asia, but Ankylosaurs are coming out of that kind of thing.
Ankylosaurids with the tail club,
And Cedarosaurus is like way out of place compared to anything else. It occurs with Pleuropleides. They're both giants. They're clearly totally different from each other. You would never put them in the same family. No way. They are totally different from each other. But they're both huge animals, so within the environment, they're from the Price River Quarry. Where how are they niche partitioning? If you look at black rhino and white rhino,
sure, one's a browser, one's a grazer.
I mean, it's okay. These things need to be niche partitioned. It makes sense. What they're doing, we don't know enough yet. But Cedar pelta, we got multiple partial skulls and skeletons, and we know the thing gets tremendously big, as does Pleuropleides. The shoulders of Pleuropleides are higher than me. My Gastonia, the shoulders are like that high. They're low, wide animals.
It's like a coffee table walking around with armor spikes on it.
These guys, their shoulders are like the level at the top of these shade tops. They're giant tanks. And they have short legs relative to their body. They're big. They're big animals. Pleuropleides is a clear notosaur. There's no shade of gray there. It's like Sauropelta, which occurs a bit older, is almost certainly related. And it's real big. And Pleuropleides is even bigger. So they just keep getting larger before the Asian immigration extinction event. But when all the Asian animals come in, we lose a lot of North American animals.
Sure, just outcompeted probably.
It's so you can kill a lot of dinosaurs without an asteroid, without gigantic volcanic things going on.
You just have other dinosaurs, come in and kick them out, basically.
So, but the end of the Jurassic maybe being tied to Moab, I just think that is a neat story, and it's like a big impact. Totally different effect than the end of the Cretaceous, because that thing vaporizes a barrier reef, and all these evaporites. So many square miles of salt, carbonate and sulfate, vaporized into the atmosphere. That did not happen with Moraquegan.
Because it would have been terrestrial, right?
And if the along Java, plateau basalts that are tied to the end of the Aptian, the basal Aptian extinction, that's now being proposed as possibly another impact that just punched right through the oceanic crust and then basalts come out.
Oh, shoot. So
Yeah.
volcanic
That's how you
eruptions
got-
induced by an asteroid impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in deep ocean.
Yeah.
And some of those plateaus they think might be impacts.
Huh.
So is this one, the Shangxi Ridge off of Japan?
Uh-huh.
Was that initiated by an impact?
Huh.
Because you got to figure oceanic crust is only 10 miles thick, max.
Okay.
You know, Folksboat Crater is 30 miles.
Deep?
You know, so you know if
That's
you
such a
hit
wild
something
idea,
like
yeah.
that into oceanic crust,
Uh-huh.
it is going to blow through it right into the mantle.
Uh-huh.
You know, but it won't have the CO2 effects,
Sure.
massive tidal wave.
Yeah.
You know, degassing and things. You know, stuff happens clearly. You know,
Yeah.
but different effects. I mean, it's you know what happens in different kinds of impacts and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even think people have done the theoretical work on that. They're just so focused on that one impact
Yeah.
that we can tie in firmly to a major extinction.
Yeah.
What about others? You know, the Manson crater, the Mason crater in Ohio.
Uh-huh.
No, Iowa.
Uh-huh.
You know, that thing is like 10 miles across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a big crater. It's mid-Campanian.
Huh. Wow.
And, you know, I know Dave Barricchio and gang have been looking, trying to see if it's tied to the Myosaurus bone bed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my undergrad advisor, Dave Barricchio from
Yeah.
Montana State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They published some stuff on it.
Yeah.
Date's about right.
Yeah.
You know, for that. And then, what was it? Joe Surdich and I were talking the other day.
Uh-huh.
You know, he goes, is that tied to why we get the marine scrappy stuff in the middle of the Comparowicks? Is it from the tidal wave, from the seaway coming into
So they
Comparowicks?
get oceanic
Bryozoa,
critters.
Bryozoa and stuff.
Okay,
But they're
so small
not where you
things.
should see them. They're like way inland where they should be.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not a seaway transgression.
Yeah, is that where
It's-
the sea turtles come from? At Rainbows and Unicorns. You know, you threw that
Wild
one.
idea, yeah.
Because they got big sea turtles there.
Uh-huh.
You know, in with a Tyrannosaur bone bed. You know, it's like way inland. I mean, we're talking big turtles, you know, 6 foot across.
Yeah.
You know, sea turtles.
Uh-huh.
You know, not,
Why would they be in, like...
they're not big freshwater turtles. These are full-blown sea turtles.
Right. Unless
got at
they're
least
swimming
2 of
way
them.
upstream to lay their eggs or something on some
Yeah,
inland
they've
sandbank.
never got an example of this elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But Selena Suarez has been working with them doing the isotopes of the bones,
Mm-hmm.
looking to see if there evidence that these things were going in and out of the ocean.
Right. That's a great way to test that. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at oxygen isotopes.
Uh-huh.
You know, you are what you drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, I need to drink some water. Jim, do you need any water or anything?
Sure, I wouldn't mind some.
Do you have a water bottle lying around somewhere?
I've got a bottle and sitting right there in the midline of my vehicle.
Can I grab that for you?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's actually iced tea, but whatever.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm gonna grab some water for myself too.
Actually, I got a gallon jug of drinking water in the back seat.
Which one do you want?
Nah, just get the iced tea.
You got it.
Then I can put water into that water.
All right. Well, if anybody's just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Just had a long conversation with Jim Kirkland, Utah State paleontologist from the Utah Geological Survey. And we're digging up some brand new dinosaurs here out in eastern Utah. Yeah, it's a good time. Quarry's a little crowded right now for me to be digging to, but maybe I can get in there. I was hoping I could put a top jacket on that iguanodont humerus, but that might not happen today. Yeah.
I almost bought a shirt.
And Twitch, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. Yeah.
Hey, Nick, can we get a Carcharodontosaurus skull
Treat me
instead?
like I'm call me out.
Let me see what I can do. Thanks, man.
Oh, Ethan, he's gonna be right
There you go, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
It's true.
Let me grab some water, too.
So funny. Everybody's a show wearing that. He'd be like delighted.
Yeah. And Coach Tomas, of course. Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to stream this. Trying to give you some sense for what it's like to dig dinosaurs and give you a chance to ask questions, and hopefully you can feel like you're really here, but you know, without the heat, because you probably don't want to deal with this right now. Oh boy, 104. I don't know if it's actually that hot. Yeah.
It's supposed to be 104?
That's what the thermometer says right here. Yeah. But I don't know. This is designed to be. No, it's not been in the sun. It's been in a pouch in my backpack here.
It's 504.
Yeah, you think? It might be. I don't know. I kind of wonder whether this was designed for like room temperature and if this is like the upper limit of its reliability. I don't know. But you at home, be glad you're not dealing with that right now.
They're all over our house.
Let's see. And we got a raid too. Shinkangatsa, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. You and your raiders. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I'm going to drink some cold water.
They all popped up and put them on and then back and forth. And they're pretty big ones.
One of those that has a fan on it. I'm not sure how that one is. Well, it's just like that. Yeah. It's just fan. I got it for like 12
All right.
Yeah, I've actually got one of those in my van around.
And 0x00C says this stream is so cozy, entertaining, and informative at the same time. Love watching. So glad you're here. I love having you here. I'm glad you're enjoying. And thank you, Mama Bon Bon, for the 36 months of support. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
The cooling rags, I don't agree with them.
Yeah, good stuff.
Cool blades. Get your cooling rag.
Anyway, let's walk around for a second. Outside of the shade tarps, where it's a lot hotter. Yeah, again, we're working in the earliest Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation here in Utah. These are probably the earliest Cretaceous dinosaurs in all of North America, maybe in the entire Northern Hemisphere. It's pretty exciting to be working on these. We've got what we think is a new kind of iguanodontian here. And in a minute, I'll take you back there and I'll show you some of the bones that we've got. But yeah, quarry's very crowded today. We've got some crew members who are here for the weekend. We've got a couple of visitors who just showed up for today. And then Jim just arrived a little while ago too. So full house here in the quarry. It's hard to find some space to work. And it is like a mosh pit under there. Exactly, snapping the rounds. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. And excited to be out there? Absolutely, Ricky Morrow, yeah. And it is the same spot as last summer, but of course I'm excited to be back. Yeah, definitely. It's, field work is it's a necessary thing for me every year. I was born to do this. It's a nice kind of reset for the rest of the year. It's something I look forward to all year long. And spending time outside with your people, being able to contribute to fossil science, it's important stuff, and I'm really lucky to be able to do it. It's because of your support at home that any of this is possible in the first place, not just the streams, but also, satellite dish and all of this gear purchased with your help, chat. So thank you very much for that. It's a big deal. It is. And I really appreciate it. What is the dig window in Utah, says Lord Nubalot. So here our field season out here in this part of Utah is determined by a few different things. Part of it's the academic calendar, as Jim is keen on saying. So like a lot of our volunteers here are students, and this is the one time of year that they don't have school for a couple months. And so that's a window of opportunity where we can come out here and dig and have, people power. We need volunteers to be able to run a dig like this. So summertime is the time to do that. And then also some of our crew members are also out doing other field work at earlier parts of the summer, like Ethan and Fisher and Nick and Ken and I were all out in Wyoming for the whole month of June. And so we couldn't be here. So this is the perfect time for this right now, even though it is like the hottest time of the year. It's the time that's available to us. So that's why we're out here. Oh, and also during the wintertime, even if we could get a crew out here, it's too cold. There's snow on the ground everywhere. So yeah, it's got to be summer. It's got to be the hottest time of the year. Anyway. And let's see, Coach Tomas says, Danny, I know at root level, what you do is a lot of science and research, but how do you feel about the perspective of seeing what you do as a means of storytelling? The journey of life and cross-threading paths of history? I guess I am at a grand scale. Yeah, so that is a big part of what I do, is just trying to give you viewers some sense of perspective, you know? We're talking about the history of life on Earth here. And the only way that we can understand that is through studying fossils. You know, if you want to know what critters were walking around 140 million years ago, you got to go out and find rocks that are 140 million years old and see what fossils you can find in those. Trying to find evidence of those creatures from that time, and that's exactly what we're doing here. This is currently kind of a blank spot on the geological timescale. We don't have a lot of dinosaurs named from this particular slot of geological time, so we're trying to fill in that gap by doing this work here. And this is just another piece of the puzzle for trying to figure out the vast and fascinating history of life on Earth. It really is the greatest story ever told, and we're trying to figure it out so we can tell it, you know? That's what this is all about. Yeah. And Bill Nash says, why is paleontology and geology important? To make you feel lucky knowing that where you're standing used to be the bottom of an ocean. I guess, yeah. It provides perspective in a way that, like, no other science really can. If you want to really understand the present, you've got to know a thing or two about the past, you know? If you want to understand why things are the way they are today, you know, why certain living things are the way they are, well, you got to look at their ancestry to really understand them at a deep level. That's what paleontology is good for. And also just to kind of guard against hubris, too. You know? Fossil science and geology... they give you these fields give you a perspective that you wouldn't otherwise have. When we're talking about... I don't know. Here, I'll put it this way. Oftentimes the people who are in charge of things didn't get there by being humble. When you study earth science, when you study geology, when you study paleontology, it makes you humble. Because you realize that we are here in our present moment. This is just this tiny, tiny sliver of time in this vast history of life on Earth. And there have been creatures like dinosaurs that roamed our planet for over 170 million years, ruled the Earth, achieved incredible sizes and shapes and just astonishing diversity of morphotypes. They were incredibly successful creatures. And then one day, and it really is like practically one day, they disappeared. Knowing that that can happen, I think, instills a certain degree of humility in you. You know, how the mighty can fall. It's happened before. It can happen again. We need to understand the history of life on Earth. We need to understand how creatures can just go extinct like that, because if we can understand that, then maybe we can prevent that for ourselves. At the end of the day, paleontology, people say, oh, it's not going to cure cancer or anything. It could prevent our extinction on some level, If we know to watch out for asteroids, because that's what wiped out the non-bird dinosaurs, well, then maybe we should be investing time and energy and people power and money in doing things like tracking asteroids in the solar system and seeing if we can deflect one if it's headed toward our planet, That's why paleontology is important, because it gives us perspective like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let's see here. The world doesn't revolve around us. We're just here for the ride. I like that, snapping neurons. Yeah. So we should do our best not to mess things up while we're here, too, Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Thank you, Wind Kryptonite. I appreciate that. Yeah. And Coach Tomas, thank you. Yeah. Let's go back to the quarry and take a look at some of these fossils, shall we? Yeah. Back to our very crowded quarry right now. And Mascari says, maybe the fossils of some dinosaurs cure cancer. Probably not directly, but, you know, paleontology might cure cancer someday, in the sense that if there ever is a cure for cancer discovered, it might come from a researcher who first got interested in science through dinosaurs, you know? We know that dinosaurs are this wonderful kind of gateway into the sciences. They're often the way that some people fall in love with learning in the first place, you know, during childhood. Dinosaurs serve an incredibly important purpose there. And so, you know, who knows? It could be something that we discover here might one day spark, you know, a passion for learning in a person who will go on to make fantastic discoveries in other fields. You never know. And am I close to Dinosaur, Colorado? Not too close, Nacho Mans. Named a little town there. Every other street has a dinosaur name. Yeah, I've been to Dinosaur, Colorado. Funny little town. Yeah. But, yeah. So we're out near Moab, Utah right now. So we are south and west of Dinosaur, Colorado. Yeah. Let's take a look at some of these bones if we can. We've already got caps on some of these. Ethan had a beautiful metatarsal over here earlier. So metatarsal is one of the upper foot bones. This iguanodontian. You can kind of see the contour here underneath this cap that he put on it. But this is to protect it. Let's see. Let me make sure I don't step on anything.
Yeah, if you just come like along here, you'll be good.
Yeah, there we go. And then, let's see. What do we got over here that's charismatic?
I'm not sure what this is what Don's been working on. I think that's
a phalanx?
Yeah, I think that's just a little toe bone there, and then something else here. We're not sure yet. And then over here, I've got another little toe bone sticking out.
Nice.
Kind of this mystery V-shaped bone disappearing.
Put the camera right up close.
Yeah.
Can I step right here?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of either side of that paintbrush handle.
Nice.
We've got some stuff going on. Really don't know what that is. And then up here we got a big chunker.
Yeah, that's weird.
So it might be going into the hill more, but we gotta take down a little bit more of
Hopefully
this.
it does. Hopefully it's not just a loose bit of tumbled
Yeah, it
nothing.
could be just a loose bit of tumbled stuff, but we're gonna find out as we uncover more.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah.
People showing up.
Jeff's got a little bit that he uncovered over there.
Cool. Yeah, this is Felicia here. She just joined us this afternoon. No, Alicia. Alyssa. I'm sorry. Shoot.
You're totally fine. I had a Felicia and Alicia in my first grade class.
Oh, really?
Like,
Did that get confusing?
I mean, we were all besties. It was
Nice.
But yeah, our teacher was not having a great day.
Yeah. So yeah, Alyssa is local here, and she's come out to help us for the day with her husband here, Jeff, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got a nice, easy one.
Yeah.
But that's into the zone of like
Big guessable names.
Yeah, it's like Jeff, John.
Here, let's go take a look over at what Jeff's got. Let's see. Jeff, is it okay if I put you on camera for a second?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Alyssa said you had something cool over here.
A little rib.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Very nice.
It went pretty quick.
Yeah. Man, that's a tiny little one. But awesome. We've got a whole mix of adults and juveniles in this quarry, so maybe it's just from a little guy.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So far, the only one right here.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, how's it going over here, Ken?
Like normal. I have nothing.
Very clean shelf, though. That's some good work. So Ken just started this morning, too. So, like, that clean surface that you see there, that's it's not always easy to do, and he's managed to do that in just a few hours here. We were doing overburden earlier this morning, so it's actually pretty impressive that he's been able to get it looking like that in such a short amount of time. Almost like an archaeologist would do.
Insulting me like this.
Don't mean to slander you. How's it going over here, Nick?
It's going good. We have a couple little bone fragments.
Nice.
We ain't poured the happy party.
Oh, yeah.
This
this piece. It broke apart.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I put it back together.
Uh-huh. Is that the one where you asked me yesterday if I thought it was bone? And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
So what you got?
It is bone. But pretty nondescript.
Yeah, it's going.
It might be part of a chevron.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, it's missing the other part. The blade would come down. You know.
The dorsal part?
Now, the chevrons are below the tail.
I'm talking, that would be the...
It'd be, well, the thick part would be where it goes to the vertebra.
Okay.
So you see a facet here for one vertebra, facet there for the other vertebra. So this is between the vertebra. There'd be another, and then they'd join down here, you know, just come down, you know, ways. But yeah, I'm thinking that's part of a chevron.
That'd be cool. Everybody in the chat wondering what that is. So it's one of the kind of dangly bones underneath the tail vertebra.
Bones.
The hanging down bones, yeah. Yeah, in fact, I can show you. Let me grab that visual aid out of here. Where's our... Yep. So this is not quite our dinosaur, but it's a member of the same family.
The chair, I still can identify.
So this is iguanodont right here. And the chevrons are... here we go. These bones on the underside of the tail. So they come off of the vertebral centra that's like the round hockey puck shaped on there. I'm grossly oversimplifying here, but you get the idea. And then you've got the chevrons that hang down underneath. Potentially one of those. Pretty cool.
But it's really this lower stuff where we should see.
So this is Iguanodon bernisartensis from Belgium.
No doubt.
And our dinosaur is about 20 million years older than this one, but member of the same family. So our dinosaur would look pretty similar to this. You know, gives you a general sense for what it would look like. Ours is probably a little smaller, though. Full grown. These guys are big, really big.
Almost a foot lower. And the only reason we found it was
and I don't think that's a Scott Hartman skeletal. This is somebody else.
Yeah, so we could jack it. All of a sudden, they're ribs down
anyway.
There.
And Moohoodles, how are you doing? Welcome.
And that leg goes down in the mud. So you got to figure that.
Lord Nubalot says, love meeting the crew. Awesome. How did everyone get involved? And how can we help support these kinds of digs? Like sending supplies or cash donations or spreading the word on social media? Lord Nubalot, great question. Yeah, actually, let me,
Yeah, we started.
Yeah.
Who said that? It was
Let me ask Alyssa in a second. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know this.
And Mama Bonbon says, any idea where the head may be? We've not found many skull bones yet. There's a few I think we have, but everything here is disarticulated. So it all fell apart after death. In fact, these dinosaurs may have been run over by some other dinosaurs long after they died. This is like an ancient swamp in here. We can tell by looking at the consistency of the rock. We look at the lithology. It's a mudstone that's characteristic of a very low energy environment. Not flowing water, just kind of stagnant. And, you know, so it basically would have been a big old mud pit.
And they finally gave up and they're walking back.
Yeah, and so there were these dinosaurs living and dying in this environment, and then a bunch of their bones ended up here. And then we actually have evidence of them being stepped on by other dinosaurs, because there's some bones that are kind of squished in at weird angles. There are some that are broken. So it might be a result of what we sometimes call dinoturbation. It's like bioturbation, like a living thing, you know, messing stuff up, turbating the substrate. But dinoturbation is when a dinosaur does it, and dinosaurs could do a lot of that, because many of them were quite large. So that's a fun term, dinoturbation. And Dinosaur Dave, I did give Jim the Lego. Let me show you a picture of that, because I just did that yesterday. There is Jim holding your Lego Gastonia there. Yesterday. Yeah, thank you again, Dinosaur Dave.
We walked over that sauropod skeleton.
Yeah.
You know, for 5-6 years before we dove
there. Can you show us a big bone that you found so far? You bet, Melinda. I'll show you in just a second. Yeah. Here, and we'll ask Jim how to best support something like this.
This level where it came up over there.
Here, we got a question from the chat for you, Jim. people who are watching right now and they're interested in like potentially supporting this kind of work, what's the best way for them to do that? Aside from subscribing to this channel, how can they help help us here at the UGS and maybe UFOP or something?
Well, one of the big things, and you know, maybe at some point we should try to set up a fund through you or something.
Yeah.
For like getting radiometric dates.
That would be awesome.
You know,
being able to actually determine how old these dinosaurs are.
You know, dates are real pricey.
Yeah.
And they can take quite a while to get. You know? So the survey, it's like you've got to find a person to give you the date. But we need the answer.
Yeah.
Radiometric dates.
He said radiometric dates. We know what's up. Yeah. That's using radioactive isotopes to determine how old the rocks are, and in turn how old the dinosaurs are. Yeah.
And it's very expensive, you know, because generally what we're doing is we're looking for the zircons that are from volcanic ashes.
Yeah.
And zircons are nearly indestructible. You know, this rock is full of zircons, but some of them are billions of years old.
Right.
So you take a chunk of this rock and you sample it, and you're going to get a whole spectrum of ages, because we actually date each zircon individually. And we use as a first pass-through a technique called laser ablation. So you spend a few $100 getting all the zircons out of the rock in a little vial. Then you put the zircons, generally what they like to do now is double stick tape onto a microscope slide. So you can set the slide so you can keep the coordinates of where the zircons are.
Okay.
You run it under your laser ablation unit, which basically is a microscope. You look down, you know, look for the zircons. Depending on what you want to do, there's different things, you know. For ages, you want to look for the most pristine, clear, needle-like zircons. Old, rounded, brown ones are probably old. But you look for zircons for the dates. Try to get the freshest ones possible, and you zap them with the laser. That and what it does, it hits it 8 times, pulses, boom, 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 working its way into the zircon. And you're talking things that are a few microns across. These are little things. And each time the laser hits it, it vaporizes the zircon, and the material goes through a mass spectrometer, and they count the atoms of uranium.
That's pretty awesome.
Versus lead.
Yeah. So you can use that to tell how old it is. Think of it like an hourglass almost. Like you've got uranium decaying into lead. Like if you measure the ratio there, then you can tell how long this hourglass has been turned over. You can tell how old the rocks are essentially.
So basically, when you do that, you get eight different ages. And if the ages change continuously through the whole sample, then it's probably too weathered to give you anything good.
Gotcha.
If you get some changes, then it levels out, same age, then you got a good zone of unaltered zircon. And then those zircons, you look for the oldest, the youngest ages. And if you get a peak of a number of these zircons at a young age that makes sense, then you refine those zircons and you run TIMS on them.
Yeah.
And the first step to do TIMS is you've got to weather all the weathered part of the zircon off with nitric acid, and then you take the whole zircon and break it down and count the atoms. And you do that to like 3 to 5 zircons. And from there, you'll get a pretty good date of that sample. And, you do that first thing, that run, to see, do you have a young peak? Do you have a number of zircons that look like you might have caught an ash that got reworked into your site, as opposed to we're just seeing reworked detritus. Problem with the lower part of the Cedar Mountain, the basal part, very commonly, is there's so much reworked Morrison, Jurassic. You'll end up, and there's a lot of ash in the Morrison. You end up getting these Jurassic ages, and we know that's not true. So it's, you can get samples that, I thought that'd be really good, and it's Jurassic age, and it's reworked Morrison.
Gotcha.
So it's there's a lot of skill and finesse and getting a good date.
But it takes money.
And it takes money. It costs like $3,000 to get through the whole TIMS process. To get the target dates, which is the first thing you do, it's $1,200 to $1,500. Just to say, we think we've got stuff.
But for the real precise stuff for the TIMS, it costs
another couple grand.
Yeah, but this stuff is incredibly important for the work that we're doing here. If we don't have good dates on these rocks, we can't really do much with them at all.
We couldn't even get close to these kind of numbers 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing how much the technology has progressed.
They're opening up whole new venues. And then where we have sequences of rocks where we get a few good dates, we can look at carbon isotopes, which are varying through the rocks depending on what's going on in the atmosphere. And there's these global anoxic events, particularly in the early Cretaceous, that cause big kicks in the heavy carbon isotope 13. Not 14, which is radioactive. You don't get any 14 rocks this old, but you get an increase in 13 because biologic activities differentially fractionate the light carbon-12.
Right, yeah.
But it's easier to work with the lighter stuff than the heavier stuff, just slightly. But when you're burying all this organic carbon in the ocean, it actually drives the global atmosphere carbon ratios heavier, so you get more 13. So if you've got some calibration points, and you've got a sequence that's pretty continuous with carbonate, and this is one of the things the Suarez sisters have been doing, started with a group from the University of Iowa, and then they went to Kansas. And they've been keeping this up. You can basically say, oh, we've caught oceanic anoxic event OAE-1A, which is probably the extinction level in the basal Aptian. You know, that event is probably dating the extinction. You know, or in the upper Yellow Cat, we got what's called the Weissert event. You know, that because of dates of 132 to 136 at Utah Raptor Ridge, and the carbon curves, they see this big kick, we got it there, and at Lake Madsen.
So you can kind of correlate across the
and that's
big
another
geographic
global
space.
point,
and
it's Valentinian.
So you can see this in other continents too? That same...
It's global. Yeah, it's
a signature you can see across the world.
Yeah, it's like paleomagnetics.
Yeah.
You know, a global thing.
Very cool.
You know, and, you know, so it's... You have to use multiple techniques.
Yeah.
So you work with geochemists. You work with people doing radiometric dating specifically. You know, who knows what new tools are coming in.
Yeah.
You know, Selena Marina, you know, they look at oxygen, you know, so they look at the waters these dinosaurs are drinking.
Yeah.
Because to make a big dinosaur tooth takes about a year. And the oxygen isotope in the enamel, which is pretty stable, they look, you know, they do micro sampling along a big tooth. If they see a big fluctuation with a big increase in heavy oxygen, light oxygen in the form of snow gets trapped up in the mountains.
Right.
So all of a sudden you get a light flush, you know, coming out, that's snow melt. And in the Cedar Mountain, we're able to date, thanks to the work of Selena Suarez, looking at teeth from all our sites, that the first big flushes of potential snow melt don't appear to the Albion to about 110, 112 million. All this stuff down here, you know, there's no evidence of any nearby mountains that had snow on them.
Right.
But by the, you know, the severe mountains that are building up at the end of the early Cretaceous, they get high enough in the Albion
where they start to get snow caps.
They start getting snow caps.
Very cool. So this is really neat, not just for being able to say, oh, these dinosaurs were, you know, drinking water that was meltwater from snow in the mountains, but it can tell us something about the geology, what's going on with the mountain ranges at the time.
Started getting to that point.
Yeah, and that can tell us stuff about potentially like what's causing different dinosaur populations to separate, like allopatric speciation or something. You can start to make hypotheses about these things. It's neat how it all ties together like that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, it's, you know, look at Mount Kilimanjaro. You'll say, well, how can you have snow? Mount Kilimanjaro is pretty much dead on the equator. It's got a snow cap, permanent. Maybe not anymore, but it's always had a permanent
very, very high.
Cap.
Yeah. So that's neat stuff. Yeah. So maybe one of these days you might want to set up a fundraiser so we can start getting some of these radiometric dates, because that would be tremendously important.
Yeah, it's, you know, like the Utah Raptor block, we've got to hire someone, and that's a lot more money than people are going to be donating. And hiring something through a government agency is, you know, it's not, you know, that takes the government to do it. And, you know, we're hoping we can do it, but we also have State University of New York, Stony Brook, and Yale are working on a proposal to study the Utah raptor block and other dromaeosaurs in the western U.S. But part of that grant is a couple $100,000 to hire a preparator, you know, a real good person for 2 years.
To entice them to move out to Utah.
They have to move to Salt Lake, but they'll be paid through probably Stony Brook. And to work this thing, and basically the way we're going to approach it is instead of trying to take all the bones out individually at this point, we're going to try to separate sections of bones, you know, and probably have to recap them. And then micro CT scan them at Yale. And they have a micro CT scanner that'll take something up to 0.5 meter in diameter.
Nice. Wow.
And they said, you know, in a pinch, there's ways you can tweak it to get up to 1 meter, which I think anything we take out is going to be no more than 0.5 meter. But take out these sections, and then they can map, you know, at subcellular level, all the bones in it.
That would be awesome.
And then future prep, they'll know where everything is. But you can study these. You can you can rapid prototype them.
You can 3D print them.
You can even look at the growth lines and do
really.
Histo- oh yeah,
you can do histo without cutting them.
Without cutting them. Oh yeah, that's the late with micro CT. But you got to have a big unit to do decent sized dinosaurs. You know, the one at the U and the one at Utah State, University of Utah and Utah State, they've got one that'll take something up to 9 centimeters. That big in diameter. Any bigger won't fit through. You know, it can be long. They get a little.
There's just a little aperture to fit through.
You can send them through. A
little tube.
But it's subcellular. You know, you look at you see all the cells, everything.
Cool.
So it's, you know, remarkable. And these are all like new technologies.
This has never, to my knowledge, really been used in dinosaur science before.
Well, Yale's doing it. They're stuff from Mongolia. They're small jackets. They don't even bother to prep them anymore. They micro CT scan them
and then just send it back to Mongolia.
It's a lot easier to ship it like that. So it's
that's really cool.
It's, you know, it's changing everything.
Was Hulscaraptor part of that, or is that was Hulscaraptor before these techniques were devised?
And wasn't that being worked on by a French group?
I think so. Yeah,
it was another group. I have no clue what they were.
Okay. I know they did some kind of a scan or something on the specimen. But might have been a synchrotron or something.
I think it was synchrotron. So it wouldn't have the same kind of resolution. These things. I mean, the unit Yale's got is real expensive. I think. The Balcones Research Center at the University of Texas has an instrument comparable. The Whitmore Lab at Ohio University has a similar unit. But there's only a few of them in the country. You know, and the big thing is, you know, none of us could have, if we're paying to do it.
We'd never be able to afford that. We don't have that kind of a budget.
But Yale,
so it's cool that they think what we're doing is neat.
More than one thing. They use it for medical research, all kinds of different research.
It's cool that they think that dinosaur science is worthy of that too. I mean, what we're doing here is pretty neat to be able to qualify for that.
But it's got to be their team. You know, we want to do a bunch of the Polacanthine brain cases.
Oh, nice.
You know, Gastonias, got a couple of them. Cactus Park, Mymore Pelta, I've got one for Wyoming. That I want a micro CT scan before I send it back to Wyoming. And we want to do all these brain cases, you know, so that somebody, won't be me, can do a real serious neurologic study.
Really neat. You could tell so much about an extinct animal by knowing the shape of its brain and
we have
what's going on with it.
You know, I mean, you know, so we really have a variety in several different genera. You know, so it's, you know. But that's another thing. Talk to Josh Lively. You know, it's like, okay, it's going to be a few thousand from them. And we're going to have a deal. He's a alumni from there. And we got a road trip, you know, kind of thing.
Drive out those ankylosaur skulls. Nice.
Do it, bring them back. So it'll be, you know, a week or so at least in Austin. And, you know, and paying whatever they charge. But it'll be, you know, reasonable because he's alumnus and more research. And
they're not going to gouge him.
It's like, we can put one of your people on as a co-author.
Nice. Well, cool.
Big borrow and steal. Collaborate.
Nice.
You know?
Jeff, were you saying that you had a talk at UFOP recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, could we talk about that for a second maybe? Because somebody in the chat was asking how they might be able to contribute to this kind of work, and UFOP is maybe a great way to do that.
Yeah.
Can you maybe tell us what UFOP is?
Utah is Utah Friends of Paleontology.
Yeah.
So basically just a group of people that have the same interests about paleontology preservation. And I got hooked up with them through Jim.
Josh and I talked about this a lot. We're going to plan this one out.
Jim's voice really carries.
Like do it all at once.
But I found something. I've been a rock hound my whole life.
It's like it sucks.
And I started finding stuff that wasn't normal stuff that you'd go find out. You know, like there's lots of petrified wood, lots of crystals and stuff. And I started noticing that I was finding something different. So I brought a piece to Jim. And Jim said it was something different. He said it might be a coprolite, which totally caught me by surprise.
Fossil dung, which can be really scientifically important. Yeah.
So I brought a Jim, and that kind of opened my eyes and changed my outlook on rock hounding.
Yeah.
Realizing that I might have found something important was way cooler than just having something sit on my shelf.
Yeah.
And so I brought it to Jim. Jim had me bring it to Josh. We're still kind of looking at it. This wasn't that long ago that I found it. It was maybe a couple years ago.
Cool. And this is what your talk was about too?
Yeah.
Neat.
So, because fossil wood's kind of the thing that I like the most.
Yeah.
And so I started to want to find out what the different trees were during that era. A lot of the information about it either says unknown specimen or it says likely conifer.
Yeah.
And it's super vague for me. And it's not the answer that I wanted.
It's not satisfying. Yeah.
And so I started looking into it more, and I started getting into macrophotography with it and starting to look at the cells of the wood, and realizing that the different wood from different eras have different cell structures, different characteristics, and I wanted to be able to contribute some way, and so I started sharing what I found with Josh and Jim.
And the Utah Friends of Paleontology.
And then led me to here today, which is a dream come true.
Yeah,
so.
Very cool.
Big
Very
area
cool.
like that.
So yeah, I've done. Shoot, I'm not from Utah, so like I'm only kind of obliquely aware of Utah Friends of Paleontology, but it seems like a really cool organization. Like a way for people to get involved, a way for people to like, talk to professional paleontologists and like actually contribute to research and stuff. And I'm sure they could always use, if anybody at home wants to make a donation to the Utah Friends of Paleontology, if you've got a couple bucks lying around, I'm sure they could use it. So because they do excellent work, and that's what brought Jeff and Alyssa out here, which is really cool.
And they do the events like the Green River Rocks, so they'll take people on field trips. So that's the other plus about it is they'll take you out and they'll teach you about what you're finding and why, and how to appreciate it better, and not take advantage of what's out there, and so you don't lose that history. And I think that's super important for me, at least.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's great to have you here, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me get some water too before I forget. But yeah.
I know I got to contact. We have a woman, Daria, at the Perot Museum
in Texas,
looking at the Temskia
stuff
that we jacketed from here.
Nice.
From over by under Glen.
Yeah.
Under that little skeleton.
Temskia is the tree fern-like plant that was out here?
Yeah, it's its own group.
Yeah.
I've kind of argued with Carol Houghton. I mean, here I am arguing with paleobotany folks about their plant, but I think it's a totally independent group of ferns that make a pseudo trunk. It's not a tree fern. I think they're Temskias. They just have their own group. But I think these are the first ones.
Interesting.
We're getting these little hollow trunks. They're only about this big. And I don't think they're known at all in the Jurassic. I mean, it's been the base of the Cretaceous. And we jacketed, a couple and sent it to her, and they're opening it at Perot. And she's a paleobotanist. And I'm hoping she'll get her, we can figure out how to get her here someday, maybe next year, to work on this stuff, collect some of her own samples of the roots and things. Because I think that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Because this place seems to be...
It's full of it.
It's
so many fragments of Temskia here,
of these, things that mostly are horizontal. But there are a few of these upright things that tipped over. And I'd like to see more. They're not common. No, it's... wish Tidwell was still alive.
Yeah. Thank you for recommending his book to me, by the way. That's it's been helpful. Yeah.
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 I mean, it's pretty
Common Fossil
straightforward.
Plants of North America is what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah,
you know,
it's good
like-
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot. All right. Before I forget, let me get some more water. Careful not to step on our humerus bone right here. I'll show that again.
Yeah, can you toss me a brush from behind you?
Here, over here. And I was hoping I'd get to jacket that today, but there's just quarry's a little crowded, and we're coming up on closing time here pretty soon. Yeah. But yeah.
Sorry.
Let's see.
There's a firework.
And Bacchiotomy. Jim should be in a director's chair. Yeah, his chair is right over there. But you know, Jim wants to actually work in the quarry, so that's what he's doing.
Hey Jim. Hey Jim, you're crumbling his pedestal.
That's where we use good steak. Rebar. Stand behind.
Well, that's it for the cold water. We'll probably be wrapping up here pretty soon, coming up on 5 p.m. But, yeah. Been talking to everybody else in the quarry. Let me lavish some attention upon chat right now. If any of you have any questions, now's the time while I'm paying attention. Do I ever do ancient DNA work or collab with people who do? Burma Ben, great question. I don't do any ancient DNA work. We don't have any DNA from these rocks because the rocks are way too old for that. So we're here at the very beginning of the Cretaceous period, about 140 million years old. DNA doesn't seem to last any longer than a few million. It's a pretty fragile molecule. So yeah, that's more the realm of, like, you know, archaeologists, maybe paleoanthropologists at like the shallow end of the ages that they work in. But yeah, we don't get ancient DNA from dinosaurs, unfortunately. That'd be super cool, but it's just never happened. We don't really expect to find ancient DNA either, just because DNA's a fragile thing, you know? Yeah. And, oh, from Kua Seal, thank you, Claire Burr, for reposting that. And what do you experts think about the differences of Spinosaurus and Oxalia? That's a good question. We've got very limited material from both of those critters. I know they do seem to be pretty similar. Spinosaurus from North Africa and Oxalia from South America. They do seem to be part of the same clade, like Spinosaurinae. So they seem to be really close relatives, but how different are they really? We don't have a good sense of that. We don't have enough material to really say anything with any real confidence there. So we need more fossils, you know? And Spinonicus art says, so an iguanodont. Very different from known iguanodonts from the Cedar Mountain. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Spinonicus art. Karen Poole is in the quarry, and maybe she can give you a real quick rundown on this. But we have every reason to think that it's new. Yeah. What dinosaur would you want as a pet? Ignoring ethics and housing food for said dinosaur? Says, Ophelia? Oh boy. If we're talking about Mesozoic dinosaurs. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool to have... I don't know, like a Leptoceratopsid would be a cool pet. You know, like Leptoceratops. It's one of my favorite dinosaurs. I think they're pretty darn cool. Some of the bigger ceratopsians are really neat also. Some of the ceratopsids.
Ethan and I have a way of saying her name now.
But yeah. Udanoceratops, it's a good one. Yeah. That's the biggest one. Yeah. And Melinda, I did just show the big bone that I found a little while ago, but I could show it again. Hang on. We'll go back in there in a minute. But let me, here, we'll ask that same question to Karen Poole. Why do we think this iguanodont is different than the other ones so far? And, yeah. Because she's going to be lead author on this whole thing. She's the iguanodont expert, so pays to listen when she starts talking about iguanodonts. Yeah.
It's too much.
The tarps are for the shapes are color, but also like visibility.
Yeah,
Let's see.
the shadows.
We'll try to do a little cleaning.
Here, Karen, we got another question for you. Repeat question about why we think this iguanodont is going to be something new. I know you've answered this several times already, but you could humor us, yeah.
Basically, in the anatomy of what we've seen that we've already pulled out of the quarry, there's some features of the skeleton that have never been described before.
Yeah.
So, like, no other iguanodontian that we know of has these particular features, and I'm gonna keep those under my hat a little bit.
Fair,
but,
yeah.
But basically, there's features on the skeleton that don't exist anywhere else.
So totally like new weird stuff on this critter.
I'm gonna have to name a process on a bone.
That is really exciting.
Sort of fun, but also I'm like. But also, you don't want to make anything like that like wild. You want to make it very like,
pretty conservative sounding, just so that
and like descriptive, like just like what it is.
So like when someone reads it for the first time, maybe they have an intuition about what it is.
If they kind of have a basic understanding of anatomy, they'll be like, I understand basically what and where that is.
But that's pretty neat that you're going to get to invent a new anatomical term.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of mulling it over. But yeah, so
downward pointing thingamajiggy.
Yes,
the hip bone.
Don wins. So that's kind of what's going on. And then when we've looked at sort of the features of it overall, and I've already kind of put it into my phylogeny to get a sense of where it is, and like kind of how it's related to other iguanodontians.
Yeah.
And I can kind of look through that matrix and all the different characters that I look at in there, and if you saw yesterday's, then you'll
hopefully some of you
know a
did,
little bit about phylogenetic
If you didn't, you could look at the VOD. You can watch that.
Yeah, but basically a character is just one little snippet of the anatomy, right? Where we kind of say it's this way or it's this way. And when you kind of look through the entire matrix of this animal compared to a whole bunch of other iguanodontians, it doesn't match up to anything else exactly.
Cool.
So it's got some sort of a unique suite of characters, and then it's also got something new.
Yeah. Thanks for repeating that, Karen. I really appreciate it. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Obviously, she can't say exactly what makes it unique right now because it's unpublished, and I don't know. In science, there's a bit of competitiveness to it, I suppose. But yeah, it's Karen tends to be. She's very no nonsense about this sort of thing, where it's like, I don't know. She's not going to get starry-eyed and say, "Oh, it's definitely new," when it's just a really subtle difference. Like, this critter has got some cool, unique features that nobody's ever seen before. They're going to be, they're going to be subtle, but like to an iguanodontian researcher, they're going to be profound differences. So it's exciting. Yeah. Yeah. And Karen is a professor. Yeah, she teaches anatomy in Arkansas. Yeah, go back and watch the VOD from yesterday. I did a big, long interview with Dr. Karen Poole. So check that out if you want to know more about her. Yeah. And something's biting me on my shin. Ant getting there? I don't think so. But, yeah. And Moo Hoodles, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Well, I hope things are good. And let's see here. I think Chicken Bacon Swiss had a question. How do you know it is a new species and not just something like a birth defect? Well, for this, we've got a bunch of different individuals. So either we've got 20 animals that all have the same exact birth defect, or it's a new species. That's the cool thing, is we've got a decent MNI for this, a decent minimum number of individuals from this site. And I should hasten to add that we've been working this site for 4 years. This is my 3rd year here, but they were here the year before, the rest of the crew. Don and Jim and Fisher too, working here 4 years ago. So every summer we've had a bunch of different fossils that we've pulled out of this quarry. We've had them cleaned in the laboratory. Karen's been studying them. We've got a decent idea of the anatomy of this animal so far. from all of these scattered bones. When all of these animals died here, their bones got scattered all over the place. So we don't have like complete articulated skeletons, but we've got enough of the skeletons of these animals all scattered around. We've got a pretty decent understanding of its anatomy so far. Better than most dinosaurs that we have, for sure. And let's see. And how do you figure out where to dig and how deep and how hard to not ruin what you find? That is probably the most common question I get, some generic username, probably because it's a good question. This particular site, well, this whole valley here was mapped probably back in like the 50s or something. And it was mapped as Morrison Formation. So it was thought to be from the late Jurassic period, where you've got dinosaurs like Stegosaurus and Apatosaurus, aka Brontosaurus, and Allosaurus and Diplodocus. Because you get a lot of those fossils in this part of Utah from that age. But Jim Kirkland, state paleontologist here, you saw him earlier in the blue shirt and the orange suspenders. Jim was looking at some of these maps and he goes, I wonder if that area was mismapped. I wonder if those rocks are actually a little bit younger in age, because that had happened before at some other sites. It might be Cedar Mountain Formation from the earliest Cretaceous. And the Cedar Mountain Formation, there was almost nothing known about it. And so Jim said, I'm going to come out here and take a look around. So he and Don DeBlue and a few other people came out here, and lo and behold, they started finding fossils. They first started by walking around kind of the those raised bits, like the perimeter of the valley there. Because typically that's where you find fossils. You look to an erosional surface like that. You look for something where you've got a lot of erosion going on and fossils poking out of the, out of the hillside, out of the cliff face, that kind of thing. They didn't really find much up there. And then they were walking through the center of the valley here, just trying to get back to the vehicles. And they started finding bones, just eroding out of the surface. So they started digging in here, and then somebody walked a few hundred meters and found some more stuff, and then somebody did the same thing, walking in the other direction and found some more stuff, and it turns out the whole valley floor is just littered with dinosaur bones. It's a pretty special place here. And so that's how it was originally discovered. And when we find bone on the surface, we dig in. We hope that maybe there's an associated skeleton in there. You try and find the source of the bone, you dig in, and hopefully there's more, and there was a lot more here. So that's how we kind of got started at this site, if that makes sense. And Melinda says, you explain stuff very well. Thank you, Melinda. This is what I do for a living, so hopefully I'm okay at it. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. And some generic username 92 says, this is so interesting. It's such an interesting thing to randomly find on Twitch. Unique. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. When I first got started on Twitch, I'd never heard of Twitch before until I met Ios from twitch.tv/Ios. She actually works at Twitch, and when I met her, she was telling me about this, where she works and everything. And I said, that sounds really cool, let me take a look. And there's a lot of video games and stuff, and I asked her, is there anybody doing science on this platform? And she goes, I don't think so. She says, why don't you try it? And I said, I think I will. This looks like a wonderful venue for some science outreach, On other platforms, places like YouTube, you can make videos and you can talk to people about science there, but, it's kind of like preaching to the choir. The people who are watching science videos on YouTube are generally people that already know that they're interested in science. People on Twitch, though, they come here for other things. They stumble across some science, they see some paleontology, and they go, oh, this is neat. And you're reaching a totally different audience. And I've been able to actually make my living on here in the 4 years since I started. And it's funny, Ios is like, oh yeah, sure, Danny's going to start doing science outreach on Twitch. And I did, and it kind of took off. And here we are. We've done some really cool things since then. This is my 3rd season in the field, digging up dinosaurs and interviewing other paleontologists live on stream. And it's been wonderful. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Yeah, the live aspect and community interaction is so great here. Thanks, Sibley. I appreciate that. Yeah. Moohoodle says it's such a great platform for science outreach. Twitch really is. It's an amazing platform for science outreach. It's been an absolute joy to see it grow, and this is like the coolest thing you bring to. Thank you, Moohoodles. I appreciate that. If anybody's not yet following Moohoodles, if you like space, if you like astronomy, if you like news about the solar system and about space exploration, go follow Moohoodles. Do yourself a favor. Watch her streams. She does some great outreach here too. Yeah. But yeah. Find a niche and fill it. Exactly, Zook. Yeah. But yeah. Anywho, good stuff. Let me know if anybody else has got any questions. Yeah. Because again, we'll be wrapping up pretty soon here, I think. In fact, I'm seeing Don mill around by his body language. Looks like he's probably going to tell us to wrap up. So get those questions in now. And you have a question? You have a question there, currently asleep? That sounds more like a statement to me, actually. But please, ask your question. I'm here for you. And Ophelia says, maybe someday I'll fill the entomology niche of Twitch. That would be awesome. Yeah, insect on Twitch? That sounds really cool. Oh, you need to check out Science streams, Ophelia, if you're not yet aware of Balint and Lita and baby Ilona. Yeah, they've got a whole channel. So Balint and Lita are geneticists and molecular biologists, and they work on ants, and they work on all kinds of cool little critters like that. So check them out, for sure. Yeah. Let's see. I mean, you get to do science and also travel and fieldwork. Yeah, some generic username. It's been a dream come true being able to do this, I always knew that I wanted to be a paleontologist. And I always knew that I wanted to do science outreach. And now a science outreach allows me to do paleontology. This is how I make my living. This is how I'm able to do field work and, fund my research and everything is through outreach, I can get two birds stoned at once, so to speak. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. And do I have to become a paleontologist to get that khaki hat and shirt? No, Wex, you can get these at the store. I got this at a military surplus store, my sun helmet, and I think this shirt might be military surplus too. But there's lots of different ways that paleontologists dress in the field. This is just the way that, that I like. I've been doing this for a long time, and, having light-colored earth tones in the field works really well for me. Keeps me cool in the sun, and it can get dirty and nobody knows because it's dirt colored already. And let's see, Crimson Carnotaurus says, did you get bored of the Australian hat? It's too hot for the Australian slouch hat out here. That one's made of leather. This is a sun helmet. So this is designed for really, really hot weather. When I was in Wyoming, back in June, it wasn't super hot. Maybe our high for the whole month was like 90 degrees. Here, we'll be very, very lucky if it dips below 90 degrees the whole summer. So this is my hot weather hat. Yeah, or helmet, rather. Hot weather headgear. Yeah. Anywho, and, we're starting to wrap up over here. So it's probably time to wrap up our stream too, so I can help with the teardown. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah. Let's see who else is live on Twitch, see whom we might be able to raid into. Who have we got? Let's see. You know what we're going to do is we're going to raid into one of our moderators right now. We're going to go say hello to Rhacodactylus, who is also a researcher, and one of our most stalwart of mods. Reiko underscore Rhacodactylus. There we go. Excellent. That's going to be really cool to see his reaction. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you had fun today. I hope you learned something. I hope you've got either a newfound or maybe embiggened appreciation for the history of life on Earth and the field of paleontology, which allows us to learn about that, you know? When you go and see a dinosaur in a museum, I hope you understand how much work went into that. Holy cow. Yeah, you can't just pick those things up at the store. It's, yeah. It takes a lot to get a dinosaur out of the ground, get it cleaned and prepared and mounted and studied and published on and everything else. So this is just part of that here. Anywho, yeah. With that being said, hopefully I'll be able to stream again tomorrow for more excavation. I think our quarry should be a little bit less crowded too, so I might be able to actually do some digging on camera like I wanted to today. Didn't get a chance to. But until then, everybody, you all take care of yourselves, and let's go say hello to Rhacodactylus. I'll see you there. All right. Bye-bye.